Welcome to the latest instalment of Garry's Robots. I decided this month that I was going to do something a bit different because, it's Christmas, isn't it? So rather than carrying on with the big robot that I've been working on over the last few months, which some of you will no doubt have been following, I decided to make something new. And because I've been thinking for some time that I actually wanted to do some work on smaller robots, I thought this would be an ideal opportunity to do a Christmas decoration. So what I've produced is Robot Robin. So there are actually other robots out there. For example, there are toy robot birds. You might have seen some of them advertised on TV. There's things like the little live pets, little birds that have been on TV recently. And other types of robot bird that you may have seen are things like the Archimedes the owl, which is produced by Alex Glow. And what she's done is she's made a 3D printed bird, as this one is, but hers is based around the Google AI-Y, the Vision Kit and the voice kits. It's quite a sophisticated product that she's made. Hers is quite a big bird. It's probably about the size of her head, and it sits on her shoulder. She calls it her familiar. It's a little bit limited in terms of the number of degrees of freedom, so it can tilt from side to side and back and forth, but it doesn't do much else. But it is a very engaging thing, and it is very sophisticated. However, it also requires quite a big harness so that it can actually sit on a shoulder. And the harness also is connected to an external power supply. What I wanted to do was to produce something which was going to be completely independent. So it's a standalone device. All the processing, all the power, everything is on board. It's rechargeable and it's also upgradable. So just like my big robot, you can add more things to this in the future. It's also got 4 degrees of freedom, as you'll see in a minute. So it can move its head, its beak, its wings, and it can rock backwards and forwards. And also, unlike the bigger robot that Alex Glow produced, this one is an instant on, so you can switch it on, work straight away, where hers takes a couple of minutes to warm up whilst it boots up all the software that's required because it is so sophisticated. And I also wanted something which is quite small, because if this is going to be some kind of Christmas ornament, then I don't want it dominating the room in terms of its size. So, quick demo, I'll put it on and you can see it in action. Okay, so you get the idea. I'll just leave it to run for a minute or two. So how does it work? Basically it uses, in fact I'll switch it off, it's quite distracting. So it uses a small Arduino style processor. I've been looking at smaller and smaller processors. When I first started looking at this as a project, I was going to use my go-to favorite, which is the Arduino Nano, which I've used a few times in other projects. I've used bigger Arduinos as well on the big robot, depending on what the needs of the project are. I have also done projects with the microbit as well in the past, and I also considered using the Raspberry Pi Zero. But they're all actually too big for the bird, because if I actually show you the bird itself and then show you these processors alongside, they're quite large, and to get them on board the robot would be rather difficult. And I wanted something which was not going to be a giant robin. I wanted something which was more or less actual robin size. So I found this, which is the Arduino Zhao. And as you can see, it's a small processor. In fact, I'll just show you how big it is compared with the Nano. So there's the Nano and there's the Xiao. So it's about half the size, maybe less actually than half size. And certainly compared with the Raspberry Pi Zero, it's tiny. But it's got all the power of a regular Arduino, so it's capable of driving all of the servo motors on the Bird there, so there's 4 servos there, and it can also drive the MP3 player, which is on board as well. So, and there's spare capacity too. So if I want to add extra sensors, which I'll talk about in a minute, then it'll also take those. So it's a brilliant little thing. Only problem was that I found that it was not 100% reliable, and it does have a tendency to just suddenly stop working. So when you end up with a bricked Xiao, as I actually did in this project when I was developing it, then it meant I had to basically put that one to one side. So I've got time to actually unbrick it and then put another one in its place. Fortunately, the second one I put in actually worked okay so far. So all was good with that, but it's not 100% reliable. So that's the processor. It also uses a 4 servo motors, normal standard 9-gram micro servos, which some of you will be familiar with. It's got a little micro MP3 player, which holds an SD card, which can hold, 8, 16, 32 gig. So there's lots of potential for lots of Christmas songs on there. It's pretty much unlimited as far as this project is concerned. And as well as that, I've also got the onboard power, which is a rechargeable LiPo battery, and that one's actually designed to be used on a racing drone. So lots of power there, should keep the bird going for quite a long time. So that's basically what the thing's made up of and how it works. The body, of course, all the parts, there's 13 3D printed components to that. So I designed and printed all those, put that together. What about the future? Well, obviously this thing is pretty much infinitely upgradable. The motions that you see on the moment are quite jerky. I deliberately did that because it's quite bird-like, but it's perfectly capable of doing smooth motion as well. You've got an infinite number of angles that it can move its various parts through, so it can take up a whole range of different postures. You can add some sensors to it. You may have noticed, if you saw close enough, the eye on there, that's actually a light-dependent resistor embedded in the 3D print on both of those eyes. And on the prototype version of this, I had it so that as a person approaches the bird, because the light level changes as you move towards it, because you're either casting a shadow over it or you're blocking out some of the ambient light, it can sense the change in the light and then turn its head towards you. So it's as if it sees you coming without the need for a camera. So that actually works out quite good, quite a good way of doing it. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to get that up and running on the actual bird itself today, but I have tested it and that works fine. So that's pretty much it. As well as making those sorts of changes to it, I'm looking at the possibility of making a slightly bigger bird in the future, and then I can maybe incorporate something like the Pi Zero onto it, so that I can put some more sophisticated stuff in, maybe facial recognition, who knows. But there we go, that's the robot bird for you.